Welcome back in Raider Arena here on the campus of Northwest Florida State College, game 2 of today's action. We just watched a state tournament record go down in game 1. Now we'll have a matchup between the Gulf Coast Commodores, led by Alana Smith, against the Florida Southwestern Buccaneers. And this is going to be an interesting matchup. Winner of this one going to go on to face Miami-Dade and the Sharks, who led by Dalia Brown, who, as I mentioned, a 41-point state tournament record in our previous game. I'm Jake Mitchell. He's Mike Rideout, and this is Emerald Coast TV. And day 2 of the District 8 basketball tournament. The women's day, round 1. We'll have 2 more matchups after this, including the home Northwest Florida State Raiders. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves, Mike. We've got a great matchup that we just got done calling, and we've got a great one that's starting right now.
You mentioned Alana Smith. She is a Louisville signee, and she is second in the state in scoring this year at 20.8 per game. Now, these teams familiar with each other. This is the 3rd meeting for Florida Southwestern. They've had a big lead in both games, but have not been able to put the Commodores away. Florida Southwestern led by 19 early in the second half and never trailed in regulation in the first matchup, but Smith hit a circus shot to send the game into overtime, and the Commodores won the game in overtime. Smith would finish with 39 points in the win. Zanonica Downs should be another player to watch today. She had 32 in a losing effort. And then in the second time that they met, the Bucks again held a 19-point lead, Jake. But again, Gulf Coast comes roaring back, and they win at 64-62. Downs, by the way, the Suncoast Conference Player of the Year. So it should be a great one. Expect this one to go all the way to the horn sound, the final buzzer. 2 nationally ranked teams, defending national champions, defending state champions. Should be fun.
A great coaching matchup in this one as well. We'll get to more on the coaching matchup here later, but we welcome you into our broadcast position as we get ready to tip this one off. And one interesting note in this one, Gulf Coast is not quite a home team, but they're a Panhandle Conference squad, and they've played here several times, in fact 2 occasions this year. They've got a big contingent of Commodore supporters there behind the Gulf Coast bench, so this will be essentially a home court advantage for the Commodores in this one. We saw that play out yesterday with a team like Tallahassee that's used to playing here, and may not be the home court, but it's a familiar court that gives you a little comfort, a familiar setting as we get underway now. The Buccaneers win the opening tip. Working inside, that's Zanotica Downs. Now it's Cabria Lewis. Elbow jumper, gets it to go. That's Simone Lett. Leah Farsi pushing the ball up the floor. Alana Smith is the primary offensive weapon, the driving force on this team, but it's Leah Farsi that runs the point and facilitates this unit. A nice defensive possession and excitement from the Florida Southwestern benches. They get an opening 2 and then force an empty possession for the Commodores.
Florida Southwestern State College averages 83 points a game. Gulf Coast State College averages 77.2. Gulf Coast State shoots 44% from the floor compared to 41% for the Buccaneers.
Board pulled in by Laureano. Jump ball, and the early tie-up is going to go in the direction of the Commodores. Bondu with the basketball. She's working it up the floor.
You know, it's interesting.
Oh, a nice pass, a backdoor cut from Leah Farsi.
So Farsi gets her first 2 of the game. 5'9" sophomore. But it's interesting that this is the 3rd meeting of the year between these 2 programs. But yesterday on the men's side, it was the first ever meeting.
Lett can't get it to go.
Florida Southwestern and Gulf Coast had never met in men's basketball.
Yeah, that was a Kind of a unique instance where you got two teams that are so used to playing each other and two teams that aren't. Also interesting because so often the scheduling is done where, you know, the men and women's teams play the same opponents to, you know, have that back-to-back on an evening. So that was an especially interesting phenomenon between these two programs. Cabria Lewis pushing the ball up the court. Back to Lewis now, working on in the inside. Able to get it to go. Stolen by Farsi. Leah Farsi making an impact early. Naomi Bondu drains the three. She is a great three-point shooter as Bondu.
First team All Panhandle Conference selection. She is signed with the University of Miami. She scored a season-high 31 points, including 7 threes against Pensacola State.
Lett can't get it to go, but she draws the whistle.
So you'll have to account for Mbondu out on the wing. And already, Jake, that's the second foul on Tatiana Jones. Your coaches for Gulf Coast, Rooney Scoville and Dr. Christy Ward for Florida Southwestern.
Can't get the first to go. Yeah, the early foul trouble for Tatiana Jones. That leads Desa Gregg to enter the game. And on the second, gets that one to go to Simone Lett.
Yeah, she's already got 3 points. She scored in double figures in 10 of their final 12 games this year. Averages 11 points, 8 boards in conference play.
Leah Farsi. The offense over to Alana Smith now. Smith missed some time with injury during the season, including a matchup here at Northwest Florida State. But she's back, and she is a scary offensive weapon to face defensively. If you're the Buccaneers, Bondu will inbound. 5-3, the early lead for the Commodores. Winner of this one going to go on to face Miami-Dade, the Sharks. There's Alana Smith, so she gets it going early.
She is a UCLA transfer, Panhandle Conference Player of the Year. Twice this year, she was named the FCSAA Player of the Week.
Leah Farsi gathers it, but it's quickly picked up there by Zanatica Downs. That's fine. 15 on the shot clock. Can't get it to go as Lett. Bondu brings it in. Farsi there, the nice take from Leah Farsi and the early stoppage. So a 9-3 lead for the Commodores as we take our first break in this one. And, you know, Mike mentioned earlier, but this is a fantastic coaching matchup and a unique coaching matchup. You've got a coach in Rooney Scoville on the Commodore side that has done so much and had so much well-documented success at the Gulf Coast, multiple championships. On the other side for the Buccaneers, it's an interesting situation, and you've got more on that for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Buccaneers, this is just their 4th year as a program, but they've won 3 straight Suncoast Conference Championship. The first NJCAA national tournament appearance in program history. Last year they finished 9th, and this year 24-6. All 6 losses have come to top 25 teams, 4 to top 11 teams. So yes, Dr. Ward has done an outstanding job with Florida Southwestern State College. Over on the other side for Gulf Coast, 21-4, 8-4 in the Panhandle Conference. They were runners-up this year. Ranked number 1 in the nation for 10 weeks, currently ranked number 6 in the latest NJCAA national poll. They've had a bunch of wins against nationally ranked opponents this year. They've beaten Chipola twice. They've beaten Northwest Florida State College twice. They've beaten Eastern Florida State. They've beaten Shelton State. And they've also beaten this team right here, Florida Southwestern State College, twice, rallying from a 19-point deficit in both games.
And Rooney Scoville, an 88% winning percentage. over 22 seasons. That just, the sustained greatness at Gulf Coast has been so impressive to watch. There's a basket from the Buccaneers. And then tipped away. That was Sonatica Downs on the defense. Ball will stay with the Commodores, though.
That was Sheslani Laureano with that last bucket for the Buccaneers.
Smith, the elbow jumper. She's starting to cook here early.
That's her 4th point.
Let now inside. Whistle. Ball was intended for Laureano.
Yeah, Deasia, Greg caught her from the backside. That'll be the first on Greg, 13th foul against Gulf Coast.
Savannah Slade will check in, takes Greg's spot. Lob over top, that one caught by Lewis. Now it's Downs. Downs gonna pull up, no good. Brought in by Slade.
She has unlimited range. She'll shoot from anywhere on the court. Scores in bunches for this team.
Alana Smith, that one just a little long. Brought in by Lett. Now the Buccaneers have a chance to cut into this early deficit. Not able to do it there. Lett brings in the rebound, and Simone Lett with the putback.
She's got 5 of their 7 points, and a quick foul in the backcourt called against the Bucks. It will be the first on Cabria Lewis.
Leah Farsi now bringing the ball up and crossing half court. Resetting the offense. 5 minutes gone in this first period. Early 4-point lead. Bondu with the basketball. Now Slade at the top of the key. Back to Bondu on the wing. She'll pull up. She's just wide left. And the rebound brought in by Cabria Lewis. Lewis kicks over. Drains it, does Sheslani Laureano.
Laureano has been their most consistent player. First team All Suncoast Conference selection. She started 29 of 30 games. Only game she didn't start was sophomore night. Got to give love to the sophomores.
Alana Smith short on that mid-range jumper, so a couple of misses now for Smith. After making her first 2 buckets. And that is a whistle on Smith. So again, after a couple of makes, there's a couple of misses and a foul on Alana Smith.
Just the first on Smith, 14th foul against the Commodores. You know, again, I noted the 19-point lead twice for Florida Southwestern State College, but they have trailed early in this one. Maybe they will play better coming from behind.
Cabria Lewis working on Leah Farsi. She gives it over to Guthrie. Now Sheslani Laureano, no good on that deep shot.
And it'll be a foul on Guthrie.
Slade gives to Smith, now over to Farsi, and the Commodores will advance the ball up the floor. Bondu left wing, driving, gives to Savannah Slade. Slade outside, and that one all the way into the stands. Didn't get a chance to redeem myself from yesterday. The one basketball that came in my direction yesterday, it was headed to you, and in my selfishness, I guess I'm not a good team player. I tried to catch it myself, but that one wide right of our broadcast position. So here's the take, a nice take from Tashana Wright Gaskins. That gives the Buccaneers the lead.
Wright Gaskins incredibly athletic. She can actually touch the rim.
Out of bounds there. Ball returns to the Buccaneers. So similar to our first game of the day, one team jumping out to an early lead and then immediately countering the other team. It goes to show you just how mentally tough all the teams get to this point of the season are. Early deficit doesn't seem to faze them.
One other note about this Gulf Coast State team is the fact that they have played the most difficult schedule in the country against a Massey Ratings #1 strength of schedule. This despite battling a host of injuries, including 5 season-ending injuries throughout the course of the season. My goodness, they're 21-4. They lose a lot of players to injury, but yet here they are back in the state tournament, defending national champions, nationally ranked.
Oh, that one shy for Guthrie. No, I think when you look at all the factors involved in this season, the tough schedule, the injuries, Rooney Scoville has had a ton of success over the course of her career, but this season may be her best coaching job.
You would think, you know, with the injury situation and then having to play that difficult schedule and navigating your way through both of those challenges to still finish 21-4, yeah, I would have to tend to agree with you.
Gregg fights for that basket, gets it to go, regains the lead for the Commodores.
That's the first bucket of the game for the sophomore, Deasia Gregg. Gregg, a Georgia Tech transfer. She is verbally committed to play at Florida State.
She won't be too far away then here in a year. For now, though, the goal is getting a victory today and getting a victory Friday afternoon and Saturday as well. There's the steal from Alana Smith. Advantage for the Commodore. Smith gives over in the basket there. That's Rashara Simmons. Rios working on Farsi. Kicks outside. Drive now. Vargas Reyes can't get it to go. Gregg pulls in the board. Farsi driving, loses it, regathers. Smith, but looked like Smith stepped out of bounds, so ball will return to the Buccaneers.
Gulf Coast shooting 53.8%, but they've turned it over twice as many times, 6-3, as have the Buccaneers. So we, saw that previous game with Santa Fe College. When you turn the ball over, you limit your offensive opportunities.
Nice pass inside, but the great defense from Bondu. But there cleaning it up is kind of Guthrie.
Guthrie with her first points of the game. She plays bigger than her size too. She's listed at 5'10". That's a big follow. The foul was called on Mbondu. That will be her first.
Just the third foul shot of the game. Doesn't go in. But how about Simone Lett? So Lett misses. Guthrie cleans up the mess. There it was Guthrie who misses, and Lett cleans up the mess. Great possession for the Buccaneers. Now they've got a 1-point lead. Well, on Wright Gaskins, the freshman out of Shillington, Pennsylvania. Alana Smith a little long on that mid-range jumper. Farsi top of the key, goes back over to Simmons. Drains the three, does Rashara Simmons. So a couple of big baskets back-to-back for Rashara Simmons. Jumper doesn't go for Rios. Rebound pulled in by Smith. Smith 3-on-2 advantage. She'll pull up from the free throw line. She drains that jumper, so Alana Smith right back on the board.
That's 6 points for Smith. Averages 20.8 points per game. That's the leader in the Panhandle Conference, second in the FCSAA, number 10 nationally.
Vargas Rios no good on the three. Leah Farsi pushing it back up, gives to Smith. Smith another mid-range J, tried to bank it in, couldn't get it to go. Under 30 seconds in this first period. 2016 the lead for the Commodores. Rios guarded by Farsi. Tries to drive, but nowhere to go. Nice pass inside from Lett, but it was tipped away, and Buccaneers don't even get a shot off to end the first quarter.
The deflection was just enough to kind of slow things down a bit, and they weren't able to, as you mentioned, to get a shot off. But pretty competitive first quarter.
2016 is the lead, and we welcome you into our broadcast position right here. I'm Jake Mitchell. He's Mike Rideout, and RJ Murdoch off screen to our left here. We thank RJ for all the work he does to keep us up and running and bring you the basketball action here from Raider Arena in Niceville, Florida, on the campus of Northwest Florida State College. Game 2 of 4 today. The winner of this one going to go on to play Miami-Dade, and in the early goings, the Commodores with a 4-point lead in this contest.
And whoever wins this game will have their hands full with D'Elia Brown. As we mentioned, a state tournament record, 41 points. She was 20 of 24 from the free throw line. So she can beat you inside, she can beat you outside. And if she, we saw her multiple times split defenders when she was double teamed today. She's someone that can get to the foul line, and she shows, based on today's performance, that she can knock them down when she gets there.
Tough start from behind the three-point line for the Buccaneers in this one. 1 of 6, so just a 16% clip for the Buccaneers, again, from the three-point line in this one. Commodores 2 of 4, so 50%, but still very early in terms of that. But this is a tight basketball game as we get going, and game number 2 of our afternoon session, evening session, going to kick off with the Raiders at 6 p.m. Northwest Florida State take the floor and here on their home court.
That will be another national matchup of nationally ranked teams, as Eastern Florida State College is ranked 22nd in the country. Eastern Florida State College has never won a state tournament. Northwest Florida State College won back-to-back in 1995 and 1996. We will have the chance for a repeat on the women's side, but not on the men's side, as Northwest Florida State, the two-time defending men's champions, are not here, but Gulf Coast defending state and national champions right here in front of us.
Finds nothing, does that three-point attempt from Laureano, so a tough start to the second quarter for this Buccaneer offense.
Gulf Coast doing a good job of sharing the sugar. 5 assists, 6 turnovers, compared to 1 assist and 2 turnovers, or 3 turnovers for Florida Southwestern State College.
And that really is the thing. We talk so much about Alana Smith, but you've got a smart point guard and Leah Farsi running things as the elbow jumper can't go, but Greg pulls in the rebound. Greg puts it up and has a chance for a three-point play. But no, you got Farsi at point guard, who's so reliable and so smart with the basketball. Smith is obviously your electric scorer, but Mbondu is a tall, long athlete that can also hit the three. Deja Gregg is such a key player inside, as we saw in that possession. So as good as the best player on this Gulf Coast team is, it's a very well-rounded squad.
And Mbondu with a putback. That's her 5th point. Greg with 4.
A bit on the pump fake did Alana Smith, but loses the basketball, does Laureano. And one other aspect to this Commodore team is that Tatiana Jones is such an important player inside as well, and she got into foul trouble early. Vargas Reyes checking in. Rios will take a seat for the Buccaneers. 24-6 for the Buccaneers, 12th ranked. Oh, the over the shoulder to Gregg. She can't finish it though. It was a nice fade route, kind of lob over the shoulder, but
and a good defense by Lett.
Absolutely. And great defense by Gregg there. So after Lett makes a play on Gregg, Gregg defensively makes a play on Lett. Mbondu top of the key. Mbondu can't get it to go in, but there for the rebound is Rashara Simmons. All of a sudden, a 10-point lead for the Commodores. But there is Vargas Reyes cuts it back down to 8. Timeout for Rooney Scoville. She frustrated with that possession, so Narimar Vargas Reyes cuts back into the lead with a basket there.
That's the first points for Vargas Reyes. She can score at all 3 levels. She's a team leader. She's been offered by a number of schools, including Stony Brook, St. John's, and Seton Hall. She's also the best rebounder on the team. First team all-conference selection.
Some shots inside Raider Arena, and if you've got a chance to make it out here, that is absolutely what you should do, because, I mean, you just mentioned Seton Hall and the amount of names that you've read off in the last day and a half, and we've still got 2 more games tonight, but just the amount of names you've read off: University of Florida, University of Georgia yesterday, University of Seton Hall today, you know, Southern Miss, and we saw a few crimson jumpsuits with script A's walking around this arena yesterday, and so the amount of talent that is playing in this tournament this weekend is truly special, and we're excited to bring you every second of District 8 men's and women's championship basketball. 1 of 7 are the Buccaneers from the three-point line, 14.3%. That puts them at, it's been a tough offensive start, 34% from the field and 14%. Meanwhile, you've got a Commodore team that's shooting over 50% from the field and is 2 of 5 for a 40% clip from the 3.
Yeah, Gulf Coast State with 6 offensive rebounds. They've outscored Florida Southwestern State College 11-6 in second chance points.
Farsi with the basketball. He's doing Bondu in the corner, inside to Greg. Greg, the mid-range jumper, she drains it.
Pretty good first half for Greg, the FSU signee, with 6, so she's starting to heat up. That's her 4th point here in the third quarter, or second quarter, excuse me. She averages 15.6 a game.
Greg picks it off, so another big play. Bondu picks it up and lays it in. That was an unselfish play by Farsi. Farsi and Bondu were kind of right next to each other, and Farsi let Bondu catch that pass with the size advantage and lay it in.
That's her 7th. She's halfway to her average of 14.5 a game.
How about Simone Lett? She's having a nice start in this game. Another basket for her.
Yeah, in fact, she's approaching double figures. That's now 9 points for the sophomore.
Nice drive from Farsi. Can't connect, though. Greg grabs the rebound, kicks to Smith. Bondu makes the extra pass. Now back to Bondu. She'll put it up. She's short and brought in by Cabria Lewis. Money on the 3 is Zanatica Downs.
That's the first points of the game for Downs. One of 2 1,000-point scorers in school history. The Suncoast Conference Player of the Year finally gets in on the action offensively as they cut it to single digits.
Farsi guarded by Guthrie. Farsi drives, blocked by Lett. Simone Lett is having a tremendous performance early on, but there the pass intended for Lett was tipped away by Rashara Simmons.
Let's see if that gets Downs going, though. She set a school record with 41 points against Hillsborough. She has scored in double figures in the final 14 games of the year, but as I noted, her first points of the game.
Only 4 foul shots combined from these teams as we near the midway point in the second quarter. Downs driving, gives over to Lett. Lett pulls up from the free throw line. She's long. Ball was brought in by Bagate on that play. Farsi setting up the offense, gives to Simmons. Screen from Greg. Simmons inside. Bagate with a reverse layup.
Fatu Bagate, freshman, with her first 2 of the game.
Zanatica Downs. Excuse me, that's Cabria Lewis, 23, who gave to Downs. Now it's back to Lewis. Inside to Guthrie, but tipped away and gathered by Alana Smith. Another nice defensive play by Alana Smith. She'll take it all the way herself. not able to get it to go. Defended by Lewis, but Daisha Gregg, along with Vargas Reyes, tie up.
Yeah, Vargas Reyes had it, but then Gregg came in there and fought her for it. So the possession to Gulf Coast.
9-point lead for the Commodores. Simmons over the top to Smith. It was this same matchup yesterday on the men's side in which Gulf Coast got the victory against first-ranked. Nice defensive play by the Buccaneers against the first-ranked Florida Southwestern Buccaneers. Now Gulf Coast looking to make it 2 victories, and the crowd does not like that call whatsoever.
Yeah, neither did the Commodores on the floor. Foul was called on Gregg, and that's going to be her second. We'll see. Yeah, I was going to say we'll see if she stays on the floor, but immediately Coach Scoville sends her to the bench. You don't want to pick up that 3rd foul here in the first half. 5:24 left.
And Gregg was frustrated with that one, even as she walks off the bench, but takes a seat. Scoville continuing to argue with the official over there. She's 22 years in. She knows how to work the refs, and there's the travel call. .5:20 remaining in this second quarter.
Gulf Coast shooting at a 48.4% clip, including 33% from behind the arc.
Inside to Mbondu. Mbondu off the corner of the backboard. Whistle on Farsi.
Yeah, didn't really give her enough room to come down, so that'll be the first foul on Farsi.
We saw a very similar play to that in our first game. It was Alicia Curry of Santa Fe that you call 8 hours of basketball. The names start to run together, but no, it was Alicia Curry of Santa Fe. But she was set up. She had her feet set much sooner than Farsi did on that play, and that's why Curry got that call back in our first game, and Farsi didn't get that one there. Taking inside as Rios can't get it to go. Farsi on the board. Farsi kicks outside, now back to her. She'll set up the offense. 9-point margin still is the difference in this one. Mbondu hands to Smith. Alana Smith will pull up. Top of the key, had her foot on the line. That's a 2, but doesn't go either way. Cabria Lewis, the basketball takes all the way and gets it to go. A great play there from Cabria Lewis to put this one at a 7-point difference.
That's the first points for the second team all-conference selection. She is a playmaking point guard, long stride to the basket there. She can get rattled at times. Turnovers have come in bunches for her, but that was a nice move to the basket.
Just over 4 minutes. Bagate drives. Nice take from Fatou Bagate.
All 4 of her points have come here in the second quarter.
Freshman out of Paris, France is Fatou Bagate. Tournament with plenty of international flair this weekend. For Vargas Reyes. Working on Smith. Oh, Vargas Reyes loses it. Ball gonna go to the Commodores. A nice defensive play by Smith there.
Yeah, you probably could have also called a carry there, but the ball did go out of bounds. So the Commodores will get it back down 9. They just have had trouble breaking into this deficit, despite the fact that they've shot pretty well from the floor. Excuse me, they're up 9.
Rashara Simmons over to Smith, deep 3, that's short. Rashara Simmons with the board. Now Smith gonna take, now she'll pull out, and Leah Farsi will reset things.
Right now sitting at 45.7%.
Farsi kicks over to Smith. 2 on the shot clock. Farsi, don't believe she beat the shot clock there, but won't matter as the ball doesn't touch anything on the rim, and Possession back to the Buccaneers.
Good defense by Florida Southwestern, forcing the turnover.
9-point lead for the Commodores as we head toward halftime, just under 3 minutes. Vargas Reyes working on Farsi. She'll take, tied up by Leah Farsi. Ball will stay on the Florida Southwestern end.
Vargas Reyes kind of frustrated there. Good defense. Vargas Reyes has scored in double figures in 6 of her final 7 games this year. First team all-conference selection.
Getting hot at the right time.
Vargas Reyes will check out.
Looks like it'll be Lonnie Loriano coming in, as well as looks like Simone Lett. There's the basket. Lead cut down to 7. Kick over to Mbondu, inside to Greg. Greg met by a couple of Buccaneers, but that didn't matter. She floats that one in for 2.
Yeah, she's playing with 2 fouls. That's her 8th point. 6 have come here in the second quarter.
Cabria Lewis, there's some clutter on the court. It was Downs that went down. There's the basket, though, from Tashana Wright-Gaskins.
That's back-to-back buckets for her. She's a good mid-range jumper, but she can drive in. As I mentioned earlier, very athletic. She can get up and touch the rim, in fact. Sometimes she can get a little out of control because of her athleticism. 2 good moves.
Leah Farsi contains it, able to avoid the turnover. Greg off the Bondu miss, can't get it to go, but then her and Bagate exchanged it a couple of times, and Greg put it in to put the lead back at 9. Rios inside to Lett. No good on the mid-range jumper, and ball goes out of bounds.
That's now double figures for Deasia Gregg, 10 points. Gregg averages 15.6 points per game, which is second on the team, 9th though in FCSAA.
And the important context of this first half is Gulf Coast without Tatiana Jones for much of it, foul trouble for her. So in that second half, if you're the Commodores, you'll have a boon in the return of Tatiana Jones. Gathered by Downs off the backboard and the foul, so I believe she'll shoot 3.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important with Jones on the bench with those fouls to try to cut into this deficit, take advantage of it. They're going to get 3 free throws here. It'll be the first free throw attempts of the game for Downs. It was named the National Player of the Week in the NJCAA the week of January the 15th.
Good on the first. We're under a minute now in this first half. 8-point lead, chance to cut it back to 7 for the Buccaneers.
Incredible athlete. I noted her 41 points against Hillsborough. Unlimited range.
Speaking of 41, we saw 41 points in our first game today. It was a state tournament record by Delia Jones of Miami-Dade, and the winner of this contest is going to go on to play Miami-Dade. That'll be Friday. Leah Farsi drives, all tipped away, goes out of bounds. 39.1 left in this half. It's now Tiana Hutchinson checking in for Alana Smith, so Smith takes a seat, and she's replaced by the 5'6" sophomore out of Port St. Joe, Florida, in Hutchinson. Outside to Farsi. 10 on the shot clock. Screen from Bagate. Farsi working on Vargas Reyes. Farsi inside to Bondu from the free throw. She's short. Gathered by Bagate, though, and Farsi gonna pull it out and now hold, as we've got about a 5-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock to close this half. Outside Bondu. Bondu driving. She's going to take it all the way herself. but a foul. Can't get the basket to go, but she'll get a chance to shoot two. Well, Bondu as we play the final 10 seconds now.
And Bondu scored a season high 31 points against Pensacola State. She averages 14 and a half a game. First team All Panhandle Conference selection. Miami signee, so you've got a Miami signee, an FSU signee, a Southern Miss signee on the floor. Louisville signee, just in this game, right?
So much talent. This is such an awesome opportunity if you're one that watches this level of basketball, because you're seeing the future of the Division I level. Bondu throws up a late shot, maybe had more time than she thought. Could have gotten past the half-court line and thrown up a more reasonable shot, but an understandable reaction with so little time left. The clock expires on this first half. It's a 38-31 lead for the Commodores. Rooney Scoville and her squad led by Alana Smith take a 7-point lead into halftime, and we'll see what Florida Southwestern has to counter with here in the second half. They're led by head coach Dr. Christy Ward-Cangelosi. She's in her 4th season. She wins 78% of her games. A great coaching matchup, a great matchup of players in this one, and at halftime, Mike, it's the Commodores that take a lead.
Yeah, and again, you know, Tatiana Jones with those 2 fouls on the bench. She averages right at 11 points a game. She has not scored, but yet her team leads by 7, so that's a good sign for them. You know, for the Buccaneers, we'll see if we can get downs going in the second half. She did not score the entire first half, the entire first quarter. She finishes the half with only 5 points. So Buccaneers, again, they led by 19 twice against this team. So we'll see how they respond, having now to have to come from behind to win the thing.
Absolutely. So a 7-point lead for the Commodores as we head to halftime. Second half of action coming your way shortly. I'm Jake Mitchell. He's Mike Rideout, and this is Emerald Coast TV live from Northwest Florida State College Raider Arena for the District 8 state tournament.
And I'm president of Northwest Florida State College. We are proud to host the 2020 Men's and Women's NJCAA District 8 State Basketball Championships. Northwest Florida State College, along with Okaloosa and Walton counties, are thrilled that you are visiting our community and hope that you have an opportunity to experience all that we have to offer on the Emerald Coast. The student athletes participating in these championships exemplify the spirit of sportsmanship and commitment to excellence. We applaud their dedication and determination on the court and in the classroom. Enjoy the games and our beautiful Emerald Coast.
And we welcome you back in. Second half of action set to go here from Raider Arena in Niceville, Florida, on the campus of Northwest Florida State College. I'm Jake Mitchell. He's Mike Rideout as we get set for 20 more minutes of action between the Gulf Coast State Commodores and the Florida Southwestern Buccaneers. Legendary head coach Rooney Scoville is looking for another victory and looking for a chance to advance, but the Buccaneers have provided some stiff resistance. They still trail by 7, but what are your keys for the Buccaneers in this second half?
Well, they've done a really good job on the glass, in particular on the offensive end. Of their 24 total rebounds, 12 were offensive rebounds, and that enabled them to outscore the Buccaneers in the first half, 13-8 in second chance points. Their bench came up big too, Jake, as their bench outscored Florida Southwestern State College 17-8. That's a 9-point difference in a 7-point game.
Buccaneers begin this half with the basketball. It's Rios working on Greg. Rios looks inside. Simone Lett had a great first half, and she's got a great start to this second half.
Yeah, so Lett kind of picked up where, Downs struggled. Downs didn't score in the first quarter, finished with only 5 points in the first half. That's 11 points now for Simone Lett.
Greg kicks out to Smith. Smith drives baseline, mid-range. Jumper good from Alana Smith there.
It was interesting because our two leading scorers for both teams were held to single digits. That's only the 8th point for Smith.
It's been a...
Thought that was coming towards you.
Yeah, I was getting ready for that one. But no, for Smith, it's been a performance that has not been a bad performance. It's just been a laborious performance. She's had to work for her baskets, and she hasn't been completely automatic. She's still making shots, though.
Well, they've had Mbondu and Greg kind of pick up the slack, combining for 17 of their 38 points. That's big when you can have someone else to depend on.
Balanced attack for the Buccaneers as that's not able to go for Zanatica Downs. Ball out of bounds. Hard landing for Downs. She gets up quickly, though. Good.
Again, Downs averages 18.8 a game, but only 5 points. She made 1 field goal. That was a 3 in the second quarter. Her other points came from the foul line. She was 2 of 3 from the free throw line in the first half. That foul called on, is that on Smith?
Believe so on that one. Zanatica Downs shooting her free throws. And reminder, Emerald Coast TV here, you can get us on YouTube, Facebook, and the website, as well as the Fire TV and the Roku apps. Zanatica Downs shooting her free throws. I know we've got family members of hers joining us on the stream. Not everyone able to make it here, so we welcome all of you that have extended family members, that have friends playing in this tournament. Those of you that are watching some fantastic basketball as well, be sure to leave us a comment and give us a like so that you can always find us here at Emerald Coast TV for all your basketball needs. That's Deja Gregg. She, just like Simone Lett, is starting off her second half strong and hot.
That foul was on Alana Smith, her third foul.
Alana Smith and Tatiana Jones in foul trouble for the Commodores. Tipped away, appeared to be off of Jones. It'll be Downs to inbound. Giovanna Rios grabs it and pulls up. She's no good. Ball brought in by Jones. Working up the right side of the floor is Rashara Simmons. Gregg now outside Farsi. Bondu drains it, does Bondu.
That's her second 3 of the game. She averages 2 a game, 14.5 points per game. She's in double figures now with 10.
Naomi Mbondu in this arena has had a ton of success this year. She had a couple of great games against the Raiders. Banked in that 3 did Zanatica Downs.
Her second 3 of the game.
And as you said yesterday, it's a weekday, so
yeah, banks are
open
on a weekday.
Farsi over to Mbondu. 12 on the shot clock. Gregg, she'll pull up. No good as Gregg pulled in by Vargas Reyes.
Best rebounder on the team.
Sent out of bounds by Gregg, appeared to be the last touch. 7-point lead for the Commodores. In the back of strong efforts from Asia Gregg, a stoppage here, so our first chance to take a breath in this second half. 7-point lead still for the Commodores, and if you're the Buccaneers, you're still having some trouble cracking this lead. It was tight early on this game, and then the Commodores extended the lead, and since then it's been an uphill battle for the Buccaneers.
It really has all day. They trailed by 4 at the end of the first quarter. They trailed by 7 at the half, and we've had an even third quarter, each team with 7 points. But, you know, Simone Lett was able to pick up the slack in the first quarter when Downs did not score at all, scoring 7 of her now 11 points. But Downs has hit a couple of threes, and here over the course of the second and third quarters has actually gotten up to double digits. She's averaging 18.8 points a game. She will be key if Florida Southwestern wants to make a comeback in this game. So it's good to see the Suncoast Conference Player of the Year get going a little bit.
Absolutely. So 6:57 left in this third period, and looks at Raider Arena coming up at 6 o'clock Central Time. It'll be the Raiders of Northwest Florida State who take the floor, and the environment in this place should be absolutely rocking. The environment already is pretty excited in arena for this game. Gulf Coast, it's a fairly short drive for them, so you've got a lot of Commodore supporters in this one.
We'll have back-to-back matchups of nationally ranked teams. Eastern Florida State ranked 22nd nationally. Northwest Florida State ranked 5th. 2 of the top 6 teams in the country on the women's side. And again, whoever wins this game, you'll have a nationally ranked team playing against Miami-Dade, but earlier today, Miami-Dade's D'Elia Brown set a state tournament record with 41 points. She's going to be a handful tomorrow in the semifinals.
Cabria Lewis with the basketball, looks inside, finds Simone Lett. Lett been a reliable option for this team early on. Rios, a nice take. Giovanna Rios to the basket. Excuse me, that was Sheslani Laureano.
First points of the second half for Laureano. 7 points for the game.
Gregg, free throw line jumper, drains it. The road to Lubbock underway. First team that has advanced in that road was Miami-Dade. Winner of this one going to take on the Sharks Friday evening. That'll be tomorrow. A long 3, no good for Laureano. So a make and a miss in these last 2 possessions for the redshirt freshman guard out of Puerto Rico.
Laureano sat out last year as a redshirt.
Farsi at the top of the key, continuing to facilitate this offense, and Bondu off the Greg screen, but double dribble. Bondu unsure about that call, but ball will be returned to the Buccaneers.
8th turnover of the game for Gulf Coast State. They've done a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball.
Oriano not able to get it to go. Jones gathered in a whistle there.
And frustration, Laureano going after the loose ball, picks up her first foul.
And I think some frustration that is lasted from that three on the previous possession. She took that shot, missed it, and has been visibly frustrated in the last two possessions. It's got to have a short memory, especially in a tournament situation like this where it's one and done.
Well, the ball actually went out of bounds, but I think they called a foul here.
20 seconds on the shot clock as Rashara Simmons set to inbound. Goes over the top to Tatiana Jones.
I think they may have just been indicating who the ball went off of.
Bondu gathers it, gets it out to Greg. Now Farsi at the circle, 12 on the shot clock, 10 now. 6-5, Greg loses it, gathered by Lewis. Cabria Lewis pushing up the floor on Farsi, a foul. Whistled against Farsi.
Lewis, a playmaking guard, second team all-conference selection.
Seems like every time we hit a dead ball, the margin is 7 points. So still unable to crack it have been the Buccaneers, but they've had some encouraging possessions, but it's not even out of reach. But 7 points is just, you play such a good team like Gulf Coast that is so well coached. Even a margin like this just feels insurmountable at times.
It does, yeah. It feels like a double-digit deficit. But again, I think that if they can get downs going just a little bit, that'll help open things up for her teammates. And again, these teams know each other well. This is the third time that they've met this year. And Florida Southwestern really, for a lot of the games, dominated. They had 19-point leads in both games, but Gulf Coast came storming back to win. In fact, it was Smith who hit a shot at the buzzer to send the game into overtime in the first meeting between the two teams, which the Commodores would go on to win 97-89. Bucks again with a 19-point second half lead in the second meeting. Commodores came back, won that one 64-62.
There's a look at the Gulf Coast bench, and Rooney Scoville, again, her 72nd season, and just amazing when you look at the fact that she's won 88% of her games over the course of 22 years. That is about as great as it gets.
Well, and they pride themselves on defense. They allow their opponents just 58.8 points per game, and they don't turn it over a lot, just 13 times a game. They've only had 9 turnovers today.
Tipped out, Tatiana Jones with a heady play to just get the ball out of there, but Cabria Lewis with the nice play to catch Bondu. Now Zanatica Downs just off on that one. Whistle and ball will go back to the Commodores. Simone Lett whistled for that foul.
Just her first. Each team with 2 team fouls.
Leah Farsi at half court setting things up. Bondu from the corner. Bondu off. Batted up though by Rashara Simmons, and Deja Gregg is the benefactor.
16 points for the Florida State signee. She leads her team in scoring. In fact, she leads all scorers right now.
Simone Lett inside working on Jones. Lett can't get it to go. The defense from Jones, and Tatiana Jones being in this game in the second half has been a huge boost for the Commodore team that already had a big lead. Bondu goes all the way to the basket, gets it to go, and now has a chance for the old school three-point play.
Let's check it again. I don't know. I could have easily seen that going the other way.
That was a close one, but a chance to extend the lead. Now a 12-point gap that the Commodores lead by, and that call a pivotal one. And you know, over on that Florida Southwestern bench, they don't like that call. You're playing a team coached by one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time at this level, and you're facing a deficit. You're fighting an uphill battle, and now you look at a sideline of the Buccaneers that is looking for answers.
It's a team that could easily probably be in the finals, but they get a tough draw here in the opening round because they were the Panhandle Conference runners-up, or excuse me, they were the Suncoast Conference champions, but even though they're playing a team that was the Panhandle Conference runners-up, just goes to show you how tough the Panhandle Conference is, number one. But again, this Gulf Coast team with only 4 losses this year, and they've beaten a lot of ranked teams. They were ranked number 1 in the nation for 10 weeks.
We were here for Emerald Coast TV at the final Raider home game of the year when they cut down the nets and clinched a share of the regular season Panhandle Conference Championship.
Yeah, 3 teams from the region made it to the national tournament.
Oh, a nice play by Vargas Reyes. A great spin move and cuts the deficit back down to 10.
Gulf Coast, your defending national champion. Northwest Florida State College made it to the Elite 8, and Florida Southwestern made it to the round of 16, the Sweet 16.
Asia Gregg inside to Tatiana Jones. Jones on Vargas Reyes. Can't get it to go. Can't get the second attempt to go either, so an empty possession for the Commodores.
You know, and that's another thing to consider that we've talked about, I think, you know, at length yesterday in the men's tournament, Jake, the fact that there are as many as 2 at-large bids available. No more than 3 teams can come from this region, but Northwest Florida State is ranked 5th. They'll play next. Gulf Coast ranked 6th. Florida Southwestern ranked 12th. So you would like to think that even at a defeat, if the Buccaneers are not able to come back and win this game, that they can still get a bid to Kansas. Based on their schedule, I would think that they would be in.
All right, the hashtag Road to Lubbock has been the way to talk about this one on social media. Road to Hutch for the men's side of things. Simone Lett rims out. Region 8 Hoops on Twitter is where to get us, at Region 8, the Roman numeral 8 Hoops, as Leah Farsi pushes the ball up. Rashard Simmons, a corner 3, no good though, and brought in by Zanotica Downs.
And if Florida Southwestern loses this game, that means that all 7 of their losses would have come to top 25 teams. So you might even want to change that to hashtag Tough Road to Lubbock. They've lost 4 games to top 11 teams.
Leah Farsi, she'll drive inside and then kick to Mbondu. A blocking foul, though, called on Vargas Reyes.
Just her first.
Looked like it might have been a wide open attempt from Mbondu. Maybe that's the one situation where you don't like the foul call. And Alana Smith now checking in for the Commodores, so they are at full strength. Tatiana Jones did take a seat, but you've got Mbondu, Alana Smith, Tiaja Gregg, Leah Farsi, Fatu Bagate. Not a hole in this Commodore lineup.
Yeah, they were able to take that up to a double-digit lead with Smith on the bench.
Mbondu, nice bounce pass into Gregg. Gregg sinks the short corner jump shot.
It's almost like pick your poison. That's 18 points for Tiaja Gregg. 13 today for Mbondu.
Zanotica Downs off on the deep 3. Be Commodore basketball, a 12-point lead. It's back to for Gulf Coast. Over 2 minutes remaining in this third quarter. Alana Smith with the basketball. She passes in front of our broadcast position and then crosses half court. Now Leah Farsi at the circle as she sets up the offense. Kick over to Bondu. Bondu gonna take all the way, and she's fouled. Falls hard to the ground, but gets up and gets ready to shoot her foul shots.
That'll be the second on Wright Gaskins. And Bondu 1 for 3 today for the foul line.
Yeah, as we near the end of this third period, this has been maybe the fewest foul shots we've seen taken at this point in a game, just 14 combined for these teams.
And Bondu, a 65.8% free throw shooter. That will give her 14 points. She averages 14.5 a game.
No good on the second. 13 points is the gap here. Zanatica Downs from the let screen, loses the basketball. It was Fatu Bagate, and now she steals it. Clunky fast break possession, and they lose the basketball. Zanatica Downs not able to complete it, though. There is Cabria Lewis with the putback, and she cleans up.
That's big for her because she struggled late in the season, scoring more than 1 field goal made in just 1 of 6 final games.
8 rebound advantage in that department for the Commodores.
Offensive foul.
They've certainly got the size advantage in this one. Deja Gregg, Naomi Mbondu. Oh, we mentioned it in that first game, but once again, a situation where 2 or 3 of the tallest players on the court all belong to one team, and that's going to give you those mismatches inside, and that's going to win you that rebounding battle.
Gregg picked up her 3rd foul.
Loriano gives over to Lewis. Lewis defended by Gregg. There inside is Loriano with the putback. Puts this back at a double-digit single-digit basketball game.
And she's approaching double figures. That's 9 points for her. She has scored in double figures in 25 of 30 games this year. First team All-Suncoast Conference selection. She's been their most consistent player.
12 on the shot clock. Gathered, not able to convert though is Hutchinson. Ball out of bounds, it'll go back to the Buccaneers crowd. Does not like that
let's see if they overrule it here.
Yeah, officials will converse and an immediate switch there. So.
Yeah.
You know, we've only had in the course of now just under a day and a half of basketball, under 6 games, we've had only 1 or 2 calls that have fired up the crowd like that, and a couple of them have been corrected, so continue to commend officiating. It's been very solid this weekend.
Also, all but one of our games have been single-digit games.
And even that nightcap as Farsi puts it up, can't get it to go, and board from Wright Gaskins. Time will expire. Bondu gathers, but you know, I was about to mention, even our 4th game yesterday, it was tied until the last 5 or 6 minutes when you had Eastern Florida stretch out a lead. In this case right here, it's the Commodores that want to stretch out a lead in the final minutes. They've got a 9-point gap as we look around Raider Arena and welcome you into Niceville, Florida, on the campus of Northwest Florida State College. It's a balanced attack in this one, and winner of this one going to go on to face Miami-Dade. Our evening slate will kick off or tip off with Northwest Florida State playing at home here. That should be a tremendous atmosphere here in Raider Arena. But as we get ready for this final 10, Buccaneers still having trouble cracking this margin that is hanging out around anywhere from 7 to 12 points. They just can't seem to get this one close. If you're in that huddle, if you're head coach Dr. Christy Ward-Cangelosi, what are you telling this team in terms of how you finally get under that margin and come back in this final 10?
Well, you just have to kind of piece together some good offensive possessions, some consistency. You know, you got to be able to take care of the basketball. And for the most part, Florida Southwestern has done that. 13 turnovers today. But again, we didn't see Downs, you know, get go after she scored the quick 2 free throws and then the 3. They kind of shut her down after that. She's only got 10 points after 3 quarters. She averages 18.8 a game. So she's your leader. The offense needs to run through her. But again, I just think it's too much depth for this Gulf Coast team. Too many scores that can hurt you. And that's even with Smith having what you would call an off day. Only 8 points for her, but yet you're up 9. So you got to feel pretty good if you're a Gulf Coast State College fan.
And you know, the points in the paint, just a 2-point advantage for the Commodores, but I think that's a little deceiving because you look at the 2 leading scorers for the Commodores. It's Mbondu with 14 and Gregg with 18. They're dynamic players, though. They've got a size advantage, but they can also shoot the basketball, and that dual threat from Gregg and Mbondu is giving the Buccaneers fits defensively.
Well, I'll tell you the difference in the game, the bench scoring. They've outscored them 25-8. Gregg, remember, Gregg did not start this game. She has scored 18 points off the bench.
Never want to say that losing a player is a good thing, but the slight foul trouble early on for Tatiana Jones opened a window for Gregg to get into this game, and as is one of the best parts of March Madness, player given an opportunity is more than taking advantage of it.
Laureano picks up this personal. That'll be her second.
Back down to that frustrating 7-point number if you're a Buccaneer supporter in this one. Alana Smith kicks out to Farsi. Under 20 on the shot clock now. Underway in this 4th quarter. Second game of a 4-game slate we've got for you today. One of these teams will meet Miami-Dade in the semifinal game tomorrow evening. Gregg, 3 on the shot clock, 2-1. Whistle.
Wow, kind of a late call there. I think it's going to go on let.
That was as tight as it gets, but whistle came after the shot clock, but I think that foul might have occurred just before the switch from 1 to 0.
And there's Gregg to the line. Only the 2nd free throw of the game for her, though.
Drains the first. It's the bleed at 8 now.
Gregg, an 80.3% free throw shooter. That leads the team. She's 9th in the FCSAA.
Drains both. Tatiana Jones now set to check in for the Commodore. She'll take the spot of Fatu Bagate, and now you've got I think the best lineup that the Commodores put out there, which is Farsi, Gregg, Smith, Mbondu, and Jones in the middle. There's Vargas Reyes. Oh, and 2 Commodores end up on the floor. It's Jones and Farsi.
And Wright Gaskins whistled for the personal. That's the 3rd.
Up to Gregg now. Farsi pushing the ball up the floor. Over to Jones at the elbow. She gives to Gregg at the low block, and Deja Gregg continues this fantastic performance.
She's a difference maker today. 22 points for the FSU commit.
And we have plenty of Seminole supporters all over this conference, this state, and you've got to be excited watching this performance. Jones working. Kicks outside. It's tipped away. Ooh. Tough landing. Looks like Alana Smith will get up, but you had, looked like it was Tashana Wright Gaskins who fell into the leg of Smith. Whistle on Smith, though, and
that's her fourth.
yeah, she committed that foul and then got rolled up, so she'll take a seat. If you're gonna have a star in foul trouble, you want it to be a game where you've got a double-digit lead, but 11 points does not cement a win with over 8 minutes left.
And I'll be interested to see now how they defend Mbandu and Gregg with Smith no longer on the floor. And that's a foul on Mbandu on the baseline. Her second.
You've got Rashara Simmons and Leah Farsi that make up that backcourt, but just a formidable front court.
These are an important 3 or 4 minutes right now for the Buccaneers. You've got Smith on the bench, the team's leading scorer.
Ivana Rios, cross court to Vargas Reyes, driving baseline on Bondu. A nice take by Vargas Reyes. Chance for an and one, and you just said this is a very vital stretch for the Buccaneers. Well, that's how you kickstart a comeback. A huge play like that that got every Buccaneer on the bench off their seats and on their feet.
First team all-conference selection, scored in double figures in 6 of their final 7 games this year. Can't get the three-point conversion, but how about that offensive board for Lett?
Yeah, Simone Lett continuing to be a huge, huge piece for the Buccaneers, but loses it, does Vargas Reyes, after the big basket, and now it's Tatiana Jones who hands to Leah Farsi, and Commodores take their time and reset offensively.
Yeah, costly turnover. Could have been a 4 or 5 point play. That's the 14th turnover.
Buccaneers wanted a walk there. Nothing doing, and Jones
got tied up.
Tied
Also
up with
injured.
Guthrie, and Tatiana Jones is down, and she landed and hit the floor with her fist pretty hard, so seems like she's
Tatiana
not
Jones
too happy with that.
is averaging 10.8 points per game. She's had 8 double-doubles this year. But Jake, here we are in the 4th quarter. Jones yet to score today. So now you've got Jones going to the bench. Smith already was on the bench with that 4th foul. This is a golden opportunity for the Buccaneers.
Jones, by the way, got up, walked off. She's getting looked at the trainer's table, but she did walk off, so hopefully not a severe injury, maybe one that had an initial reaction to it.
If you don't get this thing down to 3 or 4 points under those circumstances, Commodores are going to win this game.
Grabbed by Guthrie. Now Lett. How about Simone Lett? She just keeps coming through for this Buccaneer team, and she's part of the reason that it's a 7-point game that is still in striking distance for this Buccaneer team.
Yeah, she's got 15 points today. She has recorded 5 double-doubles in the final 12 games of the year.
Bondu pulls up. No good.
That's going to be an over the back. And you can just sense now as you look up and down that Buccaneer bench, that momentum is starting to shift.
A lot of the Buccaneer contingent is behind us at our broadcast position, and there's definitely more volume coming from behind us right now. The momentum is there, and this Buccaneer group just, oh, there we go.
We almost had someone in our lap.
You almost got a player, I almost got a basketball. Neither of us ended up with anything there, so. Buccaneers retain possession, and once again, this momentum brewing for this Florida Southwestern team. A big play here, and roof may come off of this place. They've Just waiting for a big one. Rios drives baseline. Kicks over to Vargas Reyes. Let grabs it. Let. Offensive foul. How about Naomi Mbandu making the big defensive play? Keeps this game at an elusive 7-point margin.
Third foul on Let.
Got a inbounds to Farsi. About to cross the 6-minute mark. Still enough time for the Buccaneers, absolutely.
I thought she was about to tie her shoe.
Fixes her shoe, yeah. I thought she was about to tie it as well. She just rearranging the tongue of it, I believe.
I would have been impressed. Tie your shoe and dribble the basketball. Oh, we got an offensive foul the other way.
They exchange offensive fouls, and life back for the Buccaneers. Now she reties the shoe.
And here's the concern. It was on Mbandu. That is her fourth. So you got Smith with 4, Mbandu with 4. You had the injury to Jones.
Let inside, stolen by Bagate. It was tipped away. Now Deisha Gregg. Over to Farsi.
You know, I guess in a way you could say you're not surprised. I mean, this is a team that's battled a bunch of injuries, 5 season-ending injuries, but they were able to piece it together, and they're kind of doing that here in this fourth quarter.
Bagate over to Farsi, left wing. There was the miss of the 3 on the Bandu shot.
You mentioned earlier this might be the best coaching job by Rooney Scoville. And we're seeing it again on display, navigating her way through foul trouble, injuries, and doing it against a team that had them down 19 twice this year.
Over the top, Alana Smith gathers 4 on the shot clock for Farsi. Farsi just going to pull up from the top of the key. Wide left. It wasn't an extremely covered shot, but just rushed that one a little bit, did Farsi.
Yeah, and Smith back on the floor with those 4 fouls. But, you know, here we go to a timeout with 4:58 to play, and it's still a 7-point game.
Yep. Here's a look at Raider Arena and a chance to exhale as we hit the final 5. So it feels like every time we cross that 5-minute mark and have our media timeout, we're getting ready for a great finish. And we've had 3 of 4 yesterday, and now a second game of 2 that's looking like it's about to be a tight finish. The Commodores with a 7-point lead, and I feel like a broken record, but once again I'll ask you, how do you cut into the margin? Because they haven't been able to do it for most of the second quarter, and now all of the second half. It's just every time that the Buccaneers gain ground, the Commodores are right there to take that ground away from them.
Well, again, they got to get downs going. She has not scored in the fourth quarter. I'd like to see them hit a shot beyond the arc. They average 6.2 a game. They only have 3 threes today, only 1 in the second half. You start hitting a 3, again, as we've noted, it's the biggest equalizer in college basketball, and that will certainly help open things up a little bit. But again, the bench continues to dominate this game for Gulf Coast State College. The Commodores bench has outscored the Buccaneers bench today 29-8.
A lot of those points coming from Deisha Gregg, and she's not technically a starter, but man, when you consider her skill and what she contributes to this team.
And I'm not sure why, but at least currently Downs is not on the floor. You got the Suncoast Conference Player of the Year on the bench.
And Downs has only played 14 minutes of this game, so it's not anything, it's not a rest or.
Yeah, maybe it's an injury situation.
Could be. So the officials converge to discuss what just went down. It'll be Buccaneer. Correction, it'll be Commodore basketball, and Bondu will inbound. Finds Farsi. Farsi crossing half court now. Farsi inside to Tatiana Jones. Jones to
that.
Gregg, and Deasia Gregg again.
But
It's just, it's like clockwork in this one.
That's a great look to her inside.
Vargas Reyes can't get it to go. Guthrie grabs the rebound. Guthrie, a nice putback. Back to the 7-point deficit.
That's the first points for Guthrie since the first quarter.
Commodores using as much of that shot clock as they can. Bondu from the right wing. Drains it, does Naomi, and Bondu back to double digits with under 4 minutes. And that is a huge, huge three-point shot for the Commodores.
She shoots right at 32% from long distance. That's her third three today.
Inside. Whistle on Jones. Believe that'll be her fourth on the night.
Yeah.
So
So
Player in
Smith
foul
with
trouble.
4, Jones with 4, and Bondu with 4. And by the way, Jake, on the floor now, number 20, Zanonica Downs. She has returned.
So maybe just a quick breather coming out of the timeout for Downs now. Her and the Buccaneers have 3 minutes and 30 seconds to erase a 9-point deficit. Simone Lett is doing her part and more to win this one, but
That's 17 for the second team all-conference selection.
Alana Smith is wide open from the right wing. She drains that three, does Alana Smith. A defensive lapse from the Buccaneers, and you see just all the room that she had. And now 67-56, an 11-point margin.
Yeah, the Louisville signee, averaging 20.8 points per game, has been shut down for the most part, but that gives her double digits, 11 points for Smith, who again was in some foul trouble, but gives her team a big lift there to extend it back to a double-digit lead. So you almost feel like, you know, you're playing against 6 on the floor. With the way that Gregg and Mbondu have played today, they just have not been able to cut into this deficit.
The window is open in this one. It's not completely shut, but the Commodores are doing what they can to close the window. The lineup for the final 3:20 appears to be Farsi and Mbondu, Alana Smith, Tatiana Jones, and Deasia Gregg. For the Buccaneers, it'll be Shakina Guthrie, it'll be Cabria Lewis, Simone Lett, Marimar Vargas Reyes, and Zanotica Downs, who's got the basketball on the right wing over now to the top of the key. She's guarded by Farsi. Off the screen, Bondu picks her up. Vargas Reyes in the corner. Over the top to Lett. Simone Lett can't get it to go. Good defense from Jones there, but Lett regathers. Once again, it doesn't go. Ball will remain with the Buccaneers. Looks like it may have gone off of Gregg.
Smith going to check out. Simmons checks in.
11-point margin in this one. We're now under 3 minutes.
Jones was also on the floor. She's back off. Good to see her back in the game.
Zanotica Downs.
Well, there you go.
On cue, she nails a deep three.
She's got to keep it up for them to make a run here at the Commodores.
have to be nearly perfect down the stretch if the Buccaneers want to win this one. Rashara Simmons with the basketball. She's guarded by Simone Lett. Simone Lett been such a huge part of this Buccaneer effort today. Bondu, the elbow jumper, can't get it to go. Pulled in by Vargas Reyes.
They got to string together some good offensive possessions. You can't turn the ball over here. They've had 17 turnovers today.
Zanatica Downs takes all the way too strong. Pulled in by Fatu Bagate. We haven't said her name a ton today, but she has made a few big plays in key moments.
And if that had gone down, they could have made it a two-possession game. Just got to keep playing here.
Now under 2 minutes. Rashara Simmons with the basketball. Kicks over to Farsi. Leah Farsi drives all the way. Can't get it to go. Farsi tried to adjust midair and came up just shy. We have Vargas Reyes and Gregg hit the ground.
Good offensive set there because you had Mbondu and Gregg playing away from the basket, and that allowed the open lane for Farsi. She just couldn't finish.
Nerimar Vargas Reyes whistled for that foul. She's the sophomore out of Puerto Rico.
That's going to put Gregg at the line. She's 2 for 3 there today. 80.3% free throw shooter. 9th in the FCSAA.
Drains the first. 5 fouls apiece here in this period, and maybe the lowest amount of whistles we've had in a single game this first day and a half so far. 2 more games tonight, including the Raiders of Northwest Florida will play at home. Short on that 3 is Zanatica Downs. Ball gathered by Farsi, but appeared that she stepped out of bounds. So it'll be Buccaneer basketball.
Maybe too deep of a 3 that time. I don't think you have to start taking those long shots at this point. Still got time. Work for a high percentage shot, then get back and play defense.
The communication for the Buccaneers seems to be breaking down a little bit late in this one. There's been a few situations where been miscommunications on inbounds plays.
I think there's your first nail in the coffin. Missed opportunity to score. You score here, the ball game's over.
Approaching the 60-second mark, and Bondu puts it on ice, making it a 13-point game, and that effectively will send the Commodores to the second round. They'll take on Miami-Dade and the Sharks.
That's the 4-3 for Mbondu, her 20th point.
Delia Brown it was that had 41 in our first game of the afternoon. Her and Alana Smith will square off tomorrow evening. It'll be a tip-off of 6 p.m. Friday afternoon. It'll be semifinal number 1, Miami-Dade and Gulf Coast at, again, 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. That's Friday. Our slate tomorrow will have, as Bondu gets the standing ovation, she takes her seat in this one. We'll have semifinal number 1 between College of Central Florida and Gulf Coast on the men's side at 1 p.m. tomorrow. At 3 p.m. tomorrow, we'll have matchup between Tallahassee and Eastern Florida. That's semifinal number 2, 3 p.m. again tomorrow. Gulf Coast and Miami-Dade, 6 p.m. tip-off tomorrow. And then at 8 p.m., the winner of our next 2 games tonight. We'll talk more about those when we begin our evening session, but this is a game that looks like it'll be brought home by the Commodores, and this is a moment that belongs to a Gulf Coast team led by a legendary head coach in Rooney Scoville and powered by an attack that is primarily led by Alana Smith, but man, you can't ignore, today it was Deasia Gregg, today it was Naomi Mbondu who produced for this Commodore team, and they'll survive and advance.
Yeah, they scored. They combined for, let's see, 46 points.
Drains that one, does Vargas Reyes.
And we mentioned earlier that Delia Brown of Miami-Dade set a state tournament record with 41 points. But she was one of 4 players in double figures, so it's not just Brown. They do have other players that can beat you. Miami-Dade's Amari Young hit 4 threes today. And remember, Markova hit 3 of her own. So they've got the ability to step out and hit the long-range shot.
You know, I think the common thread, and this is always the sign of a great coach, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whatever it may be, there's 24.5 seconds left in this one. The Commodores lead by 12. And Gulf Coast head coach Rooney Scoville, after that timeout, she's talking to the officials. She's making sure she's got 1 timeout left. She's coaching up. She hasn't put in any substitutions. So when you've got the big lead late and it looks like you're going to walk away with the win, there's really no doubt about it left. But Rooney Scoville is still coaching like this is a tie ball game with 10 minutes left. It's just, that's the sign of greatness is just the effort 24/7.
Yeah, and your players respond to that. You know, they keep playing too. If you're out there, you haven't cashed it in yet, they're not going to cash it in yet. But I think Gulf Coast, you know, we'll see what happens with Northwest Florida State, but I think Gulf Coast is going to be tough to beat. Defending national champions, even though they lost so many players due to injury, they've got a really talented team.
Yeah, I've mentioned that, you know, we here at Emerald Coast TV and had a chance to call all the Panhandle Conference action that emanated here from Raider Arena and saw 2 matchups of the Commodores and the Raiders. That second matchup, Alana Smith was absent with injury, so a chance to see Alana Smith and the Commodores against the Raiders would be a treat, but there's a ton of great teams in this tournament, and any of the matchups we get is going to be entertaining. Wow. Banks in that 3, does Downs, so under 10. The late effort to be commended from the Buccaneers, but it is indeed Leah Farsi, Alana Smith, led by Rooney Scoville. They advance, so tomorrow at 6 p.m. Stay right here at Emerald Coast TV. The Commodores and the Sharks of Miami-Dade will square up, but for now, we focus on this Commodore team that brings home the victory by a 9-point margin. And when it comes to just coming in, winning a basketball game, I mean, for about 75% of the time in this game, the Commodores had a lead by at least 7 points. So that was just a methodical performance and a valiant effort from the Buccaneers. They get a standing ovation from their crowd as they exit, but at the end of the day, it's the Commodores that will advance. Your final thoughts, Mike, as we welcome you into our broadcast position. I'm Jake Mitchell. He's Mike Rideout. Your final thoughts on just a tremendous win for the Commodores.
Yeah, an otherwise off night for Alana Smith, right? The Louisville signee with only 12 points today. But Deasia Gregg off the bench with 26 points. And then in Bandu, she ended up hitting 4 threes in the game. She finishes with 20 points. Too many weapons on this Gulf Coast team. And, of course, Downs, 16 points, but still at times, I think, struggled in this game. Congratulations to Coach Scoville. She's got herself a chance to get back to the national tournament.
Absolutely. So the
33-10, the bench outscored Florida Southwestern today.
Yeah, just a tremendous performance from those Commodores. And, again, a valiant effort from the Buccaneers. But 2 days in a row, Florida Southwestern falls to Gulf Coast. Yesterday it was the men's team. Today it's the women's team. So we've got an extended break now as we get set for the evening session. Had an overtime game yesterday, so never got the extended break. Yesterday was a marathon, but we'll take a quick break, and it'll be 6 p.m. Central Time that the Raiders take the floor here in this one. So that is game 3 of 4 today that we've got coming to you live from Emerald Coast TV. Again, I'm Jake Mitchell. He's Mike Rideout. A great win for the Commodores. We'll be back here shortly. Again, 6 p.m. Central Time for the tip-off of the Raider basketball game there at home. The first time we've had a chance to see a home team here this weekend at Raider Arena. And there's a look at our broadcast position. You can get us at Emerald Coast TV on YouTube, on Facebook, the Roku app, as well as the Amazon Fire TV app. So we'll again take a break here as we get set for game 3 of action. It should be a wild atmosphere inside Raider Arena. I'm Jake Mitchell. He's Mike Rideout. We'll see you shortly.